Welcome back to another episode of RPI, where we analyze architectural news and topics in the student perspective. My name is Georgia.
My name is Nathaniel. And today we have a very special guest. Today we have Jason Hagopian, who is the president and founder of Neuvio Architects in South Lauderdale, a firm known for creating transformative and innovative spaces. He is the former president of the AIA for Lauderdale, where he has helped inspire and impact the architectural community through leadership and advocacy. His professional and civic involvement reflect a deep commitment to advancing architecture while fostering inclusive, forward-thinking design.
How are you doing today?
It's great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for
I'm really
coming.
excited.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
I feel good. So one of my first podcasts ever, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, volunteering is a big part of your career. And why do you believe that giving back to the community is so important?
I think that architects, we can be very focused on our careers and we can put all of our energy and all of our time there. Mm-hmm. And I think our education is so broad and expansive that I think we owe it to ourselves and to our community to give time back outside of our career. I give a lot, as you stated, and I do it not for the purpose of benefiting my career necessarily, but it's more about understanding my place in society. And I think all of us as Americans, we need to give back to support any cause or anything where we can influence the community. It's really important.
Yeah, that's really important because in order for a profession to actually, make strides in doing something new and growing, we need people to be willing to, give back, willing to have this philanthropy attitude to the profession in helping the younger generation.
I completely agree. Yeah.
How did you first get involved?
Yeah.
What motivated you to get started?
Yeah, so this is a question people ask a lot because I was lucky that I had a mother, my parents, I would say my mother more than my dad, but really encouraged us when we were really young, like in, I don't know, it could have been in elementary school, to donate our time somewhere. So, there was always somebody less fortunate than we were. And we were like middle class, lower middle class. So we were not like, she'd always say like, you need to do something, you need to volunteer. So I did a lot of things with like Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. And there was a lot of things within those organizations about giving back and donating time. My family, we were very involved in our church. I'm an Armenian, so we went to an Armenian church and we were always kind of going and giving back or singing Christmas carols at the nursing home. I was teaching like handicapped kids swimming lessons. Like this was like back when I was, I don't know, like 11 years old, 12 years old. So that it kind of just was in us to do that. I mean, I actually never really liked doing it that much, to be honest with you. As a kid, you're kind of like, why do I have to spend my time doing this? Yeah. But I think that from an early age sort of got ingrained in my head. And so whenever I was sort of asked to help or, hey, or I see something like I want to like fix that. I want to change that. I just knew I had to do it because who else is going to do it?
Yeah.
And then find the time and the time, the talent, the treasure to do it, like whatever capacity I could. And it just kind of grew from there, I think. And I don't think you have to learn it as a child. I think it helps, but I think you can also learn to give back as an adult as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also like really fascinating because, a lot of us too, like we might not maybe have that upbringing, being told you should give back, but you have that. And I would like for you to maybe expound on how maybe looking back now on those like early years of your life, like what are those benefits that you can sort of extract from that and say, okay, this was really useful for me and you give it back.
Well, I mean, one great thing about giving back, now as I continue to do it and give of my time, is that you're able to, you can't just be in a group and say, hey, we should do, somebody should really fix that thing out there.
Yeah.
Like when you do that, that should be you.
Yeah.
Like, so it's taught me that if I see a problem or I see a void or a challenge or an issue, if I want to create the change there, I need to do it myself, or I need to lead it. So I know there's a lot of discussion, and I think you call this sort of like leadership and service, and I think they go hand in hand, because I think one of the great things about giving back and giving service is that by default you become a leader. Because if you just raise your hand and have an idea and then you put your hand down, that's just an idea that's floating in space.
Yeah.
So if you have an idea and someone says, can you take care of that for us? Yeah. The answer is yes. I mean, you learn to say yes, not like, well, I don't want, somebody else can take care of it. Because there isn't always somebody else. That's the issue. So that's why I end up on, 5 or 6 different boards, and you end up like, I'm probably over committed. It's a challenge at times, but I think for me, it's, we all have to know when you'll be, we all have things happening in our lives, right? Yeah. So you might be single, then you might have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, then you might have kids, and you have more time, less time. So, I know how much time I have. We all have the same amount of hours in a day. That's the really cool thing. 24 hours.
Yeah.
So you think of what some people accomplish, and I always think like, oh, geez, if that person can do that, I can certainly do this.
Yeah. That's a good way of thinking.
Yeah, I always say we all, Beyonce has the same amount of hours we all have. Look what she's doing. Yeah. I mean, So I think it's a little bit of a perspective, right? Like if, when you want something done, you go ask a really busy person. Yeah. They get it done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It starts with self-autonomy.
I think so. I think for me, it's just really understanding where I can be the most beneficial.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the person that's going to be writing like gigantic checks to an organization, but I certainly can offer resources and time and talent. Like I can do that's one thing when you volunteer that they call it like the time and treasure and talent, right? So you want to be able to contribute in one or more of those buckets. Mm-hmm. So you may like, well, I can't really, they want all of us to give $100 to this thing. Well, not everybody can give $100 to something, but maybe you can help work on their social media, or maybe you can help volunteer at an event and help carry stuff, or I don't know, it could be anything. But it starts there.
Yeah.
And then you start to develop a whole culture of giving that then I would like to think transfers to my firm and to the people around me and to friends. I mean, I have friends that don't do anything to give back. Yeah. And they have like tons of money. And so I'm always like, so whenever I need money, I ask them for it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And you're a part of many organizations, the RPI Alumni Association, Smart Growth Partnership, Florida Foundation for Architecture, and multiple AIA and AIA national communities. So, and I want to focus specifically on AIA, and you were also the past president of AIA. Mm-hmm. How was that like? What was, looking back now as a past AIA, what was the challenges? Mm. How did you get it? How did you even get into that position in the first place?
I mean, I began my career in San Francisco, so I joined that AIA chapter there 20 odd years ago, and just as a member. And basically, you would join that chapter because they had an incredible lecture series where they would bring in like all these amazing. And in order to get tickets to the lecture series, the first tickets were issued out to AIA members. Yeah. So that's how they got all the young people to join the AIA. It was kind of a brilliant idea.
It is.
So I didn't really that was the only thing I did with AIA back then, was go to the lectures. And then I moved here and like 25 years ago, didn't really know anybody, and started an office for the firm I was working for in San Francisco. Joined the local AIA Miami chapter because I used to live in Miami. And it was a very different vibe than the San Francisco AIA. And then I just kind of started getting connected with people, and they were like, oh, do you want to serve on a committee? Do you want to help here? Do you want to help there? And then gradually I just sort of started moving up the ladder, getting to know more people, getting more involved, wanting to grow the membership in the Miami chapter. And I actually ended up becoming the president of the Miami chapter. That was maybe, I don't know, that could have been 8 or 10 years ago. And then when I was moved up here 5 years ago, right away, Maribel, the executive director for the chapter up here, I went to a networker they were having, and they were like, who are you? And I said, oh, I was the president of the Miami chapter. And they're like, oh, you want to get on the board here? And I said, sure. I didn't think I actually was going to just get on the board so quickly, but I sort of told them, look, I can bring a lot of my experience from the AIA Miami chapter to this chapter, which needed some work, I think. We were kind of flatlining a little bit, and it was a little disorganized. And so, yeah, I kind of started as secretary, maybe. I was secretary of the chapter, and then was nominated for vice president and then president. So it's been, and through all that time, I got really involved with AIA Florida and state, which was really great, and some national stuff. So I was on there's like an LGBTQ committee, a diversity committee, and the Florida Foundation for Architecture. So all the not-for-profit arm for the AIA Florida. So I started getting asked, do you want to be on this board? Do you want to be on this board? So I'd say there's quite a bit of time that goes into AIA. Yeah. And that's an architecture-related board. But I have other boards that are not, Pride Center here in Wilton Manors is a LGBTQ center. It has nothing to do with architecture, but I chair that board. I've been on that board for about 9 years now. And then my Alumni Association board had nothing to do with architecture, but then I got kind of looped into the School of Architecture there. So I'm the Dean's Leadership Council now for my college School of Architecture. Yeah, I think it's important to kind of be in and outside of architecture. And all of those things have interest to me. I think that's the key when people say, well, I don't really know where to give, where do I want to give my time, my service? Yeah. I say you have to find something that is interesting to you. Yeah. Otherwise you won't care. Yeah. And I think we all care about certain issues, the environment, homelessness there's a lot of places you could go. Yeah. But it's important to find something you really enjoy putting your time into, just like when you put all your time into studio, right? Yeah. Or into your job. Yeah. Because you'll be putting a lot of time into your service too. Yeah. Yeah. And you don't get paid for that. Yeah.
So. If it doesn't strike a chord within you, then you're not going to grow as much as you could. So
exactly.
It's important that you find something that it's more tuned to what you really want to do.
Yes.
That's really good.
It has to go with your values and what you believe in. Yeah. So you can actually pull there for you. Yeah.
Right. And then you start to see there's a lot of overlap, and there's a lot of ways that my service on AIA can benefit my board position as chair of Smart Growth Partnership, because they're similar goals, right? Yeah. The environment, housing, urban planning. I could have somebody, we could do a joint event together. So, in that sense, it's a lot about, as you get older and you spend more years doing this, you end up with a lot of connections and contacts, and that's really good. And you guys doing this is really beneficial because you're meeting a lot of people. Yeah. And those are people you're going to, hopefully foster those relationships. And then in 10 years, when you need a favor, you need somebody to do something or help you out with something, you can, make that call and make that connection. And that's pretty gratifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you have to be willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's a lot of what service and leadership is. It's like that even when you work in your job in a firm. You can either not put yourself out there, and you can work and have a fine life, and maybe that's not your thing. But I think the fact that you guys came up with this podcast idea, you guys appreciate putting yourself out there, right? You're on camera, you're involved, you're in different organizations, and NOMAS and AIA. So, I think you're already on the right path, and I would say, don't think about the limits. I would just think about the potential, I guess. Don't over commit, because you want to be able to perform in all parts of your life, your job, and all your volunteerisms. And your family life, that's important. It's a big balance, with all the boards that I'm on, there's probably 10 trips a year that I have to take that don't relate to my home life, like my husband, or I mean, like those are things that are like very inward for me focused that I have to do. So, but you have to think like, oh, you also have like a family or, you know, like I said, a partner or kids you have to take care of or house payments you have to make. I mean, you have to have it has to be balanced.
Yeah.
I think you can do it. The human has the capacity to do a lot.
Yeah.
How do you handle that, having all this responsibility?
Yeah, I'm a Capricorn, not that that really matters, but if we're gonna go there, is that part of the segment? What's your sign? I tend to be pretty organized, so for me, I try to stay very structured.
Yeah.
So you know, Georgia would probably like I get to work pretty early, like I'm usually the first one in, like maybe 7:30, depends. But I leave if I don't have a board meeting or I don't have a networker after work. I leave at 5:00. Like that's it. Like 5, I go home because I also need to take care of my physical and mental self. So I have, you know, I do a work. I get home, I do a workout, and then I cook dinner, and then I spend time with my husband Rick. So that's very. And then if I have a work event or a networker after work, then I typically only stay to a certain time. I don't typically I don't eat or drink when I'm at the networker. Like I usually restrict. So it's a little, I don't know if it's kind of anal retentive or what, but it's the way I set my own boundaries so that I can kind of create balance. So I like make sure that I'm still doing, you know, vacations for myself. And then if I have a meeting I have to fly to, you know, I go up for the few days, or, you know, I'm not doing all of the AIA stuff this year like I did last year as president, because it was like national AIA convention, state convention, legislative day, leadership summit. I mean, there's like 5 trips that you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So this year I'm just doing the state to Orlando, I think.
Yeah, convention.
Convention, yeah.
And as I've been going through being a president of a AIA chapter, how has that shaped the way you approach leadership?
Well, I mean, you have to have serving on a board like the AIA, which I would say is kind of like a board and organization. You're volunteering. There's only so much you can control and so much you can do. Mm-hmm. So for me, I knew and the AIA presidency it's 1 year. So it's a very short, you have 12 months to I have these ideas. I want to make this change. Let's do this thing. So I knew when I got in right away, we need to get the budget. I mean, there was a lot of things that were just not the way I think they should have been when I looked at how our board was running compared to a lot of the other boards I sit on. So I was like, we need to have a budget. We need to watch how are we spending the money? What are the events that we're doing? Why aren't we growing the membership more? So I was able, I set my goals and got the board and everybody and all the committee people, to follow. And because that's the thing, when you're a president or a founder or a leader or a chair, you have to lead. Yeah. This is I know there was some questions that you had about leadership, and I think this is really interesting because being a leader, it's not just like being a manager. You actually have to, you're in control, you're directing. You have to be the person that everybody follows, ideally wants to follow. Yeah. But those aren't necessarily mutually, they can follow you and they don't have to want to, but they have to because you're the leader. So, I knew with AIA, we're going to get this budget, and luckily we have it now, and Heather's taken it over, and for the first time we have a budget to approve right in the beginning of the year. The finances are really stable. I chose to chair the membership committee this year so that we can grow membership. I helped grow the membership in the Miami chapter when I was there. And I think these kind of leadership positions on boards are really helpful with maybe leadership positions that you may or may not have, but will have in your firms, in your professional life. Because you're going to, some of you may work for really large firms, and there's a very big pyramid structure. All organizations have it, or there's something at the top. And it's like a management pyramid. So you're probably down here right now. But you kind of want to be, it depends. hopefully as leaders, you want to be up higher, right? So you're either going to have your own firm, you're going to move your way up, you're going to figure out how to do that. But boards will help teach you how to lead. And because you're elected and you're volunteer, sometimes you can get to that position a little bit easier than maybe like in a professional organization.
Yeah.
If you're working for a big firm, like ODP maybe, or, like to get to the upper leadership, you either have to like be very, very experienced or be there maybe for, I don't even know how long, 10, 15 years, who knows? I don't really know. So it's like for a board though, like get involved and you're on a committee and then somebody sees you're really being productive and you're really involved, and people like Alyssa or, they can really accomplish a lot. Yeah. And I think boards, I never really set out when I joined a board to become the chair or the president, to be honest with you. It wasn't really, because that just means more responsibility. Yeah. But when you do things, you're noticed and people will say like, oh, we're going to nominate you for vice president. It's like, okay, so that means like in a year I would maybe be president. Like, can we maybe be like 2 years? Like, can somebody else take it? Like I declined being the president of my college, my RPI Alumni Association board, because it's a big, big commitment, and my college is in upstate New York. So right now I have to have 3 trips for that board, 2 to upstate New York and 1 to another city. And this year it's to New York City, which isn't so bad. But when you're president of the board, which is, the Alumni Association is 110,000 living alumni from my college, you are meeting with the president of the institute. Yeah. You're up and you need to be at graduation and convocation, and you're meeting with the president. You maybe have to be up in Troy like 10 times a year. So as much as I would have loved to have had that position, it'll have to be like next time around. Like maybe after I retire and then I maybe rejoin the board and I have some more free time. But you have to learn to say no, and I think that's hard too, which is how you end up sitting on like 5 or 6 boards. It's like you see someone's like, oh please, it won't be that much work, and we really can use your expertise, and I'm like, oh my god, I know I should be saying no, but I feel like so I think that has always been my challenge too, is you have to know when to kind of know your limitations, because you can. Something gives, right? Like you can do a lot of things, but there will be cracks, Then when you start to see cracks, you have to kind of take a step back a bit. Oh, like I'm realizing like I'm not, like I was only home for dinner like once in the last 2 weeks. Like that's kind of not so good for like your personal life. Yeah. Or like, oh, like I'm spending too much time out of the office, or like I'm writing too many checks to too many organizations, or whatever it is. And I think you have to always have balance. It's really important. Yeah.
How do you think the architecture can influence the communities without specifically buildings?
Well, certainly giving back and sitting and getting involved in other organizations. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's really easy to get very siloed into our career. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit weird because ironic in a way, because I think over the 5 years that we have during our education, you're taught a lot of different things, right? Yeah. Like it's not like accounting, which is, I'm not trying to demean accounting, but there's some focus there, right? You're probably not learning about, I don't know, like environmental systems, like when you're learning to be an accountant necessarily. But we're learning about structure. We're learning about philosophy. You're learning about theory. You're learning about materials and methods. You're learning about contracts. You're learning about just so many things, which when you graduate, then I always say you're uniquely qualified to do many, many things. Yeah. You might go into industrial design. You might go into construction, fabrication. You may design, and you may go more in design, and it could be yacht design, cruise ship design, airplane seat design. I mean, it could be so many things so it could be within the architecture built environment, but it could be way, way out there. And that's what I think. I think the education that we have as architects creates a mind that very few other educations do. Yeah. So you're learning about critical thinking. You're learning about theory. You're learning about analysis. Your teachers, especially those of you that go to FAU, you're not taught like, this is how you need to design. This is the system, this is new urban. Like every school does things a little bit differently. I think FAU, you're learning, it's a pretty broad education. They want you to be creatives. They want you to be thinking and problem solving. So those skills, that lens, that expertise, you will find not everybody has that. And that's what makes us as architects very, very special. Very highly desirable to be involved in things, because you can get into a situation that you may not know anything about. And you will be able to be a very valued contributor to whatever that situation is. And then that makes you like the leader, because then you are the one that's coming up with the solution. And then just by default, people will begin to look to you as a leader. And I think that's what's made it really helpful for me, I think, is that education and that just the way you think about things. Like, it's not just right away, yes or no, black or white. There's always lots of gray. Like, there's like 5 solutions. There's one best solution, most likely. So, but you are finding the best solution.
It's very interesting because we just had Heather Akers. She talked a lot about problem solving. That's what we get as architects. We go through our 4 years in school. That's what you get to become a problem solver. And it's very interesting that you talk about it right now. And I just found that that's really fascinating.
I think it's something they don't really. Maybe there's not like a class called Problem Solving 101. Like, you don't really. I don't think you are conscious maybe of learning that while you're in school. Like, I certainly don't really. I don't really remember, like, I remember a lot of philosophy classes and a lot of theory classes, and history classes. So that, like, this sort of like this understanding that history has its place in architecture and in the world, but then there's also like the future, right? But you cannot just live in the present and the future without kind of understanding that there was a past, right? And certainly in architecture, and we build things that have the potential to last for decades, if not centuries, if not millennia. So we have a responsibility to the built environment, I would say, for sure, as architects. Everything we design, I like to say, is a design project, whether it's, some handicapped bathrooms or, whatever it is. I think you have to have a mindset that you are creating whatever that is. And in life, just in general, like, I just don't, I always say, like, I have my, like, kind of my mental deficiency is I can't stand, like, I'm looking at those 3 chairs that are out by the pool and they're not like evenly spaced. I'm like losing my mind right now. I mean, like, I think you have to like understand that your creative ability goes beyond just like architecture, right? Like, it's kind of it's a much more global thought process. And I think you have to really believe that. Like, I think I always tell, like, my team, when they go to a meeting, even like in our office, like when you go to a job site. So there's many people at a team meeting, right? There's the architect, there might be a designer, there's a GC, there's a client, there's an owner's rep, there's a mechanical engineer, mechanical contractor. You have to believe that you are the smartest person in that group. That's your job as the architect. You are the one, your stamp or someone's stamp in your office went on the drawings that you worked on that have all of that stuff in it. Architecture, civil, survey, landscaping, electrical, mechanical, plumbing. You are responsible for all that. You don't have to have an intimate knowledge of every single sheet, but it's always better when the architect goes in there and I think takes kind of control, leads the situation. We've all been in meetings where things are going all over the place. You can't just sit there and just go, like, oh, I know, like, I really need to say something. It takes time. You have to get that, to be able to be the person that just is like, everybody just needs to stop talking for a minute so that I can, you have to, there's this whole thing like stepping in and stepping back, right? Like, so a lot of people just step in and they stay in. And that's right away, that person, like, we're going to have problems here.
How did you instill that self-belief in yourself?
Well, I mean, definitely it took time for sure. I mean, I would say historically, I feel like everything always stems from like your childhood. It's just so bizarre. Like people are like, you don't really change. I don't know. I mean, I'm a gay male, and I was in the closet. I was dealing with my own issues as an adolescent, I suppose. As we all deal with our own issues growing up as kids, it's horrible, right? I mean, we're all have our own minorityness in ourselves and challenges, and I don't know. Like I think that made me very introverted in a way as a adolescent, as a teenager. I guess I was really lucky that I found a group of friends like in junior high school, guys and gals, that just like kind of accepted me, and we weren't like the total nerds, but we certainly weren't like the football crowd, whatever. But it was just a great little, and I'm still friends with, like every Christmas we get together with like 10 of us that I've known from, and 2 of them I've knew from kindergarten, or from whatever first grade, so it's been like 40, so long time. So, I was lucky I had that group. I used like a lot of humor, like to be funny, because a funny person it worked. But I definitely when I started getting involved, when I moved here, I started moving up in my firm when I was in San Francisco, and I started as a project coordinator, like my first job. Mm-hmm. Then I became like a junior project manager, then a project manager, then a firm associate, all within like the first 3 years maybe with that company when I was still in San Francisco. It was great. My boss gave me lots of opportunities, and like I had a friend that worked for a company that said, "Hey, do you want to do some?" I went to college with him, and he ended up becoming an architect for Best Buy. This is before anybody knew what Best Buy was. This is like in Minneapolis, and there was like one store in Minneapolis where they were. And he called me one day. He said, "Hey, do you guys want to do like Best Buys like in California and Texas and Florida?" And I was like, "What is a Best Buy? Like what?" So I was like doing business development before I even knew like what it was. So I went to my boss and I said, "Hey, my friend works for this company, and they want us to do these stores." And we had never really built big box retail before. And my boss said, "Well, if you want to manage it," and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to manage it. I don't know what this is. I barely know what I'm doing." But he said, "No, you can do it. We'll help you. We'll give you the support." And so it was great. Like it was, we did a lot of work for Best Buy. It was a huge contract for the firm. I learned to go onto job sites, and I learned a lot about construction. Like I did a lot of CA. I went and I worked with a lot of GCs that did work all over the country. These guys were like so amazing. Like they were these old salty GCs, but they knew how to do everything. And they'd be like, "Oh, well, we're gonna, Saturday morning we're gonna be using helicopters to put the air handling units on the roof. If you want to come down." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming down." Like I got my bike and I get down to the job sites. So I think I gradually realized that if you want people to listen to you, you do have to say something. You have to express yourself verbally. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And everybody has a voice. We all have a unique voice. Some voices are loud, some are quiet. We work in the office. We're all different. I'm probably loud, and you're probably a little loud. I don't know. Jamie is quiet. You have to speak up and say things. You have to do that. And so that, as I started to get involved with, I was really involved with the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce when I moved to Miami Beach to get to know people because I didn't know anybody. I got involved with the Hotel Association. And then they were like, "Oh, do you want to sit on this? Do you want to sit on the young leadership committee?" And I said, "Yeah." "Oh, do you want to?" After like 6 months, do you want to chair the committee? And then they said, "Oh, you're going to do like a panel event, and you'll moderate the event, and you'll have all these." Like I had all these developers and brokers, like these people that I only read about like on Google, and I was like, and I go, "Wait, moderate? Like I have to sit in front of everybody?" And so it was all very I just would say yes. I was scared to death, to do any public, I think the normal things that people most likely feel. I think even movie star, you get a little bit of stage fright, and you get nervous, but I just think I just knew like I have to just keep doing this. Like I took some coaching classes. Like I think it's really important to know where your deficiencies are, and it's good. Like we didn't have cell phones and videos and stuff when I was your age. So you guys, in a way, you have a little bit of the luxury of, you know, being familiar with this and recording yourself and then like watching it.
Yeah.
Or I would see things, or I would listen to talks or go to conventions, and I would hear a speaker and I'd be like, oh my God, like I have to think, like that's what I need to be doing. Like, because that person got everybody in this room to listen.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of skill there. I think you can learn some skills, but I don't think we all have to be like, you know, like a TED Talk. You don't have to all be like an expert at doing a TED Talk, because I don't think that's really that natural either. And nobody really wants to be sold to or feeling like they're being sold to.
Yeah.
But everything you do, you're selling yourself, right? You are selling your firm, yourself, who you are, what you're doing. So in a way, it's all sales, but it just took it took time for me to just keep doing things and speaking in front of bigger and bigger crowds and just getting used to like not backing off, but just saying, I can, that's fine, totally fine. I'm like, oh my God, like, and I would be like, how many people are going to be here? Like, oh, it'll be a room of like 200 people and you'll have a, so then I always try to make sure I know exactly what's going on, because I like things to be really organized and clear, like, so that I have less to worry about. Yeah.
You talked about that your boss pushed you to go into that. What were there any mentors in your life growing up?
I mean, certainly at the job I had before I opened my office, I think I grew the most there. I had one job before that job where I worked for a very small firm doing public schools, which was really cool. But I did not really like my boss, and the motivation there, to be honest with you, I guess to this day, God, I hope he's not watching. I say like, and he had a pretty good firm. We were doing all these public schools. It was pretty amazing. Lots of renovations, new schools, all in San Francisco. And I'd be like, if this guy can run a firm, I can definitely do this. But he was a really good, he knew who to network. Like he wanted to do schools. So he got to know the school board people. He got to know like the mayor of San Francisco. So I'm sure he wrote a few checks here and there and supported certain people in the commission. But he was good at that. He hired, I had a really good architect that worked under him. Tony was his name, and Tony did everything by hand. This was right when CAD came out, so I was doing CAD and Tony would draft but Tony taught me a lot about detailing and how to think about, like, and he would always say, hey, can you do this thing for me? I got a lot of things, let me try. So I learned a lot from him. And then when I got my job with Sau Design Group, Jonathan Sau, who was my boss, just gave me a lot of opportunity and supported me, and had people that worked under him, Ellen Shum, who I'm still friends with to this day. She doesn't still work there, but she was amazing. And just a lot of, it was a really good time to join that firm. We were pretty small, but when I joined, about 15 people. But there were a lot of young people I really liked. I'm like, oh, there's like a kitchen with like a water cooler and a coffee machine. And I just kind of really liked the vibe. And we started growing really fast. So we went from like 15 to like 40 people in like 3 years.
Wow.
And then so it forced Jonathan to create more layers. Mm-hmm. So we knew like Jonathan was really good at getting business development. He had a really great skill. He had a memory he would remember anything. Like if you mentioned like, oh, I like saltwater fishing in the flats of, I don't even know. He would remember that. And then he would like see you like 4 years later, be like, oh, you're still doing that fishing? Like it was like an instant like bond. Like he would just, so I learned a lot from him about that too. It's really important to actively listen to people when they're talking to you.
Yeah.
That's a really important skill. So you make sure you surround yourself with people that listen and also speak, because if they're just speaking, here I'm supposed to be speaking. So
we're actively listening to it.
You're doing a great job of that. So I think that they just gave me, so it became time, like I remember he said, we're going to create an associate level in the firm because we want you guys to do all the stuff that Jonathan really wasn't that good at, like keeping all the employees happy and like doing events and how do we run the firm and what benefits should we be offering. So there was 3 of us that became associates, and like we got so busy, for instance, like we were doing lots of work for a lot of retailers and banks, and it was when Gap was opening up. Gap would open up a store every day somewhere on the globe. So we were doing Gap stores. So every day, this is really how old I am. There's like a fax machine on the desk, and every Monday this thing would come out from the Gap, and it'd be like, here's your 8 stores that you need to start working on this week. And so we were just over, like we couldn't hire, and everybody was really busy. This was back like when the stock market was like skyrocketing, and like .com stuff was like everything was coming out, like stamps.com, like everything was just like, I would watch the Schwab ticker tape when I would walk to work, and it was like everybody was investing and buying stocks, and the internet, Silicon Valley was exploding, and we would work. We had so much work, and he's like, how do we do it? How we can't, like, everybody's already working like 10 hours a day. And I said, well, let's do like 2 shifts. Let's have people work a day shift and like a night shift. So how are we gonna get people to do that? I go, well, we have to give them something, you know. Like, so we would like everybody like at 5 o'clock, 5:30, everybody would stop working, and like we would bring in like these like gourmet dinners, like from all the best restaurants in San Francisco, and then we would do like another, like take an hour break, and then do like another 4-hour shift, and we were giving everybody time and a half. You were collecting comp time. So you got to take it, or you got paid out. So I had like hundreds and hundreds of hours, like everybody did. Wow. So that's pretty valuable to like a young person. Yeah. When they're like, oh yeah, maybe you can't take the time off, but you can get paid out thousands and thousands of dollars. Like so I think, you know, I learned some of those things. I learned really well from those mentors, and then things that I wanted to do when I had my firm. Like, I don't want people to be like, I don't want to be making all the money in our office because all people like at your age are working like 12 hours a day. Like, that's just not, I just don't think that's right. Unless I'm giving you back something for all of that, of course. But certainly in my day, that wasn't the case. It was like you were expected, you're supposed to be sleeping under your desk and working all night long. And, you know, well, when I was your age, that's all you would hear from your boss. Like, oh, well, you don't know how hard it was. When I didn't even get paid for, like, nobody in doing a college internship got paid. Like, nobody was getting paid.
Yeah.
Wow. I got paid when I did co-op, because it was part of college had a co-op program, and they wouldn't let you work for a firm without getting paid. But people would go and work for like Stephen Hall's office or SOM in New York. They weren't getting paid. That was just to get the name on the resume. But I didn't mean to sidetrack that.
What was the reason that you decided that this is the moment that I'm going to start my own office?
I had been with my previous firm for almost 25 years. So a few years in San Francisco, then I moved here to live with Rick, my husband, and Jonathan gave me the opportunity to open an office in Miami. I was actually interviewing here when I first moved here, and Jonathan said, before I officially moved, he said, do you want to try to open an office for us in Miami? I was like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. I said, my one question is, am I still going to be on salary? Like, am I still going to get paid every 2 weeks? He said, yeah. I go, oh, all right. So yeah, I think I always tell people, like, I loved that job, and I think when it was good, it was really good. And then it kind of got to a point where I just wasn't as happy as I was. And a few things maybe kind of happened specifically that caused me to just finally go home from work one day and tell Rick, like, I'm quitting this job. Like, I'm not. I think I probably would have done it sooner. I was just, it's kind of scary leaving something you've been doing for like 2 decades. Yeah. I knew I wasn't going to end up like on the streets, like I had a husband, we were going to take care of each other, but I just was nervous, like, what was it going to be like, and having my own firm, and what did I want to do next, and but then once I kind of decided, it was like this, like one. It had to do with money, I guess. I felt like Jonathan wasn't being really fair with the finances, Yeah, no, he probably would disagree with me, but I think it's, it just was the straw that I guess broke the camel's back. And I just said, like, Jonathan, in 6 months, I'm walking out the door. Like, it was January, and then I said, June 30th, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Decision.
Yeah.
You gave him 6 months.
I did give him 6 months.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I think in theory we wanted to make it as, an amicable divorce of sorts. He didn't want to I said, you have 2 kids. Like, do you have one of your kids wants to run an office? Or you could run our projects that are in Miami from the San Francisco office. Or you can hire someone to take my place. And he didn't really want to he said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I said, okay, so basically we'll close the office. The Tao office will close. Yeah. So we talked about like me buying out the office and all this stuff. And I just was like, I'm starting my own company. And we came up with an arrangement that I was happy with and he wasn't so happy with, but it was business. It was hard because I've known him for a long time, and he definitely gave me a lot of opportunities. And I think if he had maybe chose a slightly different path for me, maybe like I didn't own any of the Miami office that I was running, so I was just an employee basically. Maybe if he had allowed me to own some of that office and then gradually own the whole company, maybe I still would be running Sao Design Group and he would be retired. I don't know. But This is a very common challenge that small firms have. Because if you don't get bought out, and there's been a lot of firms that are big firms that are buying up smaller firms. If you don't get bought out and you don't have a succession plan, like who's going to take over, when you retire, basically the firm will just like evaporate. So some people don't care, I think for me, I would like to build an office that has some value, maybe that somebody would want to buy, maybe. Or there'll be somebody that in the firm that will want to take over the office, maybe. It's just not everybody's thing. Having ownership is, you're responsible. Yeah. You're responsible when things are really good, and you're responsible when things are really bad. You have to pay everybody. It's a lot. Yeah. It's great. I mean, I love being my own boss. It's just the stress it's different. It's like a different stress than I had before. Yeah. Before it was like, I'm unhappy and I'm stressful because I'm unhappy. And now it's like, it's my own stress now. Yeah. And I can just make any decisions I want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can say yes or no, and that's really gratifying, I think.
Before we started the podcast, we talked a little bit about how you came up with the name of your firm. Yeah. And this idea of a new vision. Yeah. And how did you start to, or the firm that you created, how were you able to start to now inject some of that sort of volunteerism and sort of this giving back philanthropic attitude into your firm?
Sure. Well, I know everybody in the office knows I do a lot of it for sure. So I like to think I'm like teaching by example. Mm-hmm. But then I like to encourage everybody to get involved. Mm-hmm. Like if they want to be involved, let me know. Like, what is it? Like, what are you interested in? So some people it's obvious, like it's AIA maybe, but there could be other things. Like anything. I don't know what everybody in my office's personal stories are, but everybody has their own unique interests. So, whether it's a fundraiser you're doing or my mom had breast cancer, so now I'm really involved in the breast cancer foundation or something. And can you support me doing these? I don't know. Like I did a lot of bike cycling when I was in San Francisco, and I did a lot for like HIV and AIDS. So I did the AIDS ride, and I got Jonathan to support myself and match my sponsorship dollars and give me a whole week off so I could bike from like San Francisco to Los Angeles. And so like those are just things I knew like it was important for my company to know what I was doing and what was important to me. Yeah. And I would say I would want my employees to feel that way as well. And try to just get them to see the benefit of and the reasons why it's important to be involved in the gratification I get out of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's interesting because not everybody even wants to give that much time to their office. I mean, they do the work because they're getting paid, but then there's lots of other things that happen, like revolve around the sphere of an office, right? Like, oh, there's events, there's things. Don't you go to this? Can you go do this? And some people are like, but I understand people you all have your own lives.
Yeah.
So like I said, you may have a family, you may have 2 kids, you have school, you might have, I don't know, like there's a lot. So I don't expect everybody to be able to always give all the time.
Yeah.
I that's not like my intent here, but I do think you need to make giving back and supporting your community some priority in your life. Maybe not all the time during your whole life, but I think it's really important to do that. I mean, it's kind of the way, to me, it's also like how America works. Right? Like your taxes and my taxes help support people that don't make as much money as, like that's how, if you can't like buy into that system of how we're all, a rising tides lift all ships and all that kind of thing, there's a bigger issue there, right? That's going to be a hard learn. But I think once you start giving back, I think it can be mentally gratifying, and I think financially as well. Like you get, for me work-wise, and certainly having connections and contacts has certainly helped brought work. And I think being involved with AIA, like one of our clients that we're working on a big house for, he was very impressed that, I was the president of AIA. He said, oh yeah, I want you to work on my house. Okay. If that's what does it, it's great. Yeah. I think one of the biggest mistakes you can make is getting involved on a board because you're thinking it's going to lead to like a lot of business or something. I think that's probably
not the right lens.
Yeah. I think you can join things specifically for that. Like, I'm going to join like ULI or some group because I know I'm going to meet developers. And then, you have to get involved on a committee because then they start to know you. Like, okay, like there's a mission here. Like, I'm trying to meet this developer X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to join this group and spend this money. I don't know how gratifying that is beyond the fact that you're getting a project maybe, and that can be very gratifying. But I would say in general, I think that's not quite the reason, like, that's not like giving back to the community.
No.
I wouldn't say like, oh, you're so noble that you're doing that. Like I think you have to be a little bit more, I think a little bit more purity of choice, and maybe I think is probably really where it needs to come from. Yeah.
How would you encourage other fund leaders to have the sort of civic engagement?
Yeah, I would imagine most firm leaders are involved, are giving back in some capacity. And I do call on other leaders to support the things I'm doing. So I guess that's one way they can give back. Yeah. Like, hey, can you be on this panel? Hey, we're going to be doing a panel at FAU, or I'm going to be doing a panel with Smart Growth. Can you be a speaker? Like I could call on Kobe Karp or somebody else, I don't know, like Ed from ODP. Like, now that I know him, like I can call in a favor. Yeah. And they will always most likely say yes. Yeah. I would say definitely like you don't get anything unless you ask. So that's my other thing is like, please, like as young leaders, you have to create some confidence about asking for things.
I mean, they know you already have it, so might as well you ask.
All they can do is say no. That's my thing. Like, oh, I don't know if I can raise the money. I'm not sure. I'm like, did you ask? Just go out there and do it.
If you don't ask, you already have the no. So
that's it. Every no ask is a no for sure. Yeah. So, and that I think, and then I go into with AIA when I was with AIA Miami. We did a lot of firm visits to try to get people within AIA in the firm to join. So we go to like these big firms. We do a little AIA, dog and pony show. We'd serve lunch. They'd be like, if it was a big firm like Nichols or I don't know, there'd be like 20 people in the conference room. And then we would say, okay, so who in the room is an AIA member? And like 2 people would raise their hand. So like, where's your boss? Where's your boss? So like, it doesn't start with them. It starts with their boss. Yeah. So maybe the boss is in AIA, maybe he's not. So look, you have to show by example.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about finding out like who is this person involved, whatever it is. Maybe if we just say AIA, for instance, like, well, why are you offering, like, are you funding the AIA dues, like partially? Are you telling your team, like, it's important for them to be a member of their professional organization, the AIA, that supports all the policy in Tallahassee and in DC, and it's like joining the bar organization if you're a lawyer. Are you giving them the time, hours to go to events? Like, are you supporting that, or are you kind of giving them a guilt trip? Oh, well, you hope you can get your work done. I mean, it's not really like saying, I support you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I support you as long as you
Finish your work.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really support.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to, and I think I try to be very supportive in that way. Look, you do have to get your work done. That's true. But that's also why we are flexible about working from home or working in the office. Look, our workflow, it ebbs and flows. We're busier, not busier. So regardless, the work has to get done. So maybe this couple weeks we're not so busy. Okay, not too bad, but you gotta start hitting home runs in these 2 weeks, because we are gonna have everybody going to look at the staffing, and everybody's gonna be 50 hours, it's gonna say. So I don't want everybody to be working. Like I said, we don't really do that. That's part of our my new vision for how to run an office. I want us to make money. I want us to make lots of money so we can share the profits with everybody. It's very easy to take all the money for myself. I mean, that's what I can do with your owner, pay everybody and keep all the salaries as low as possible, and not give a lot of PTO, all these things that you can do, I guess. And, I don't know. It doesn't really fit the way I am about I'm wanting everybody to work really hard and, be really gratified by it mentally, of course, but I know it's a job because I pay you, right? It's not a hobby. You're not doing this just for the fun of it. So I think you should be compensated fairly. You should get some mental gratification out of it.
So,
I think that's really important. I'm not saying every job is your most favorite job ever. I mean, it takes time maybe, and you have to find your place, and every office is very different, I think. And I've seen a lot of offices, and I've talked to a lot of architects, and you sit on AIA, it's great because you're involved, you can talk to your peers, and you're going up to state and national, and you're meeting tons of other architects, so you can ask the questions. And certainly now I even see there's a lot more openness and transparency about work ethic and salaries, and there's a lot of seminars that happen at conventions that talk a lot about workflow and expectations. And I think it's always good to ask those questions and be aware. And I'm happy. I always mentor, whether it's people in my office or other people. I always encourage young architects, ask me the questions. I'll tell you. I don't know. I can't answer for your boss. You have to ask your boss those questions, but I can tell you what I'm doing, with my company. And if you're feeling like you're not digging where you're at, please be forthcoming with your employer.
Yeah.
Put it on them.
Yeah.
If you're not getting the answers back that you want, then you can make your own decisions there. Mm-hmm. You can stay, or you can, I think you should spend a good amount of time in an office when you go there to learn. I think for me, I get, when someone says, I kind of learned everything I can learn in lighting design. Now I want to go into architecture. And I'm like, but you've only been out of school for a year and a half. I don't understand. So I think, some things take time, It can all seem like a really long time to go from your age to my age, but architecture is kind of, you're always learning, it's always changing. Every project is unique. That's the other thing that makes architecture so exciting and challenging at the same time. There's really we can do a lot of the same type of project, but still there's going to be unique situations.
Yeah.
I always said I have an uncle that is now retired, but he was a dentist. So, dentists, they do pretty good for themselves. And I always thought, like, oh, maybe I'll either be an architect. Although I always knew from when I was little I was going to go into architecture. But I thought architecture, like a dentist, because I knew like they made a lot of money. But I thought, like, a dentist is never going to open up somebody's mouth and see like 3 rows of teeth. Like, it's always, yes, like some technology has changed, like Invisalign, there's new cat, everyone's getting new grills now, but like, it's not, you're never going to go in there and be like, whoa, like, here's something new they want to do. They want to put the front teeth in the back and the back teeth, like, it's always, like, imagine doing that same thing for like 40 years.
Yeah.
I feel like I would lose my mind. So that's not architecture.
No.
There's never good, like in 1 week, there could be like something, two things totally different. And so that's what's really fun about it, I think. Yeah.
What mindset do you think that young architects should change to be able to grow their career and also like service and community?
Yeah, I think that you can do both of them at the same time, for sure. I think, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit in the beginning, but like, it's very odd to me that architecture, we talk a lot about collaboration, which is sort of like, like a 360 approach, right? Oh, there's all these things, we can collaborate. But then we like tend to be very like siloed. Like collaboration between firms, somewhat rare, I think. I think there's a lot of like competition. We all love competitions, right? We all love the design awards. And I think this idea that like you need to be very myopic and focused on like your career and what you're doing. And I think it starts in architecture school. Like you're very focused, like in your studio, right? That's your most important class, the studio, right? Well, the other classes are kind of important too.
Yeah.
I mean, like you shouldn't, do good in your math and your theory and all that stuff.
To keep them up.
Keep reading, I would say, like all these things are really important. But I think that the fact that you can do both, you can be a very successful architect and then still volunteer your time in other places, way outside of architecture, whatever that, or within architecture, whatever that is. Like I said, my board's kind of, more of them are probably outside of architecture than inside of architecture. But that's also just because I want something else to gratify myself as well as just my career.
Yeah.
Because look, when you have your own firm, it's running a business. That's the business of architecture. Mm-hmm. So, I'm trying to be creative. I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to make money. So that's the whole thing there. So sometimes being on a board that's completely outside the realm of architecture is actually fills another part of my brain.
Yeah.
It's a whole different focus. Like I'll think about the business, or my employees, or my projects, or my clients. I can kind of focus on supporting another organization that really needs help or something. Yeah. So I think the mindset is, and I would say start while you're, like I wasn't involved in anything when I was in college, for instance. I got very focused in school, that was where I was, but I wasn't thinking about, giving back. I think it's when you're younger, you can be very you can be kind of selfish.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think you could also be my age and be selfish too.
Yeah.
But
there's definitely a mindset change that can happen early on or later on. But I really believe that change is not only because you're seeing what you can give to the community, it's also because you also see what the community can give back to you.
Sure.
At the end of the day, it is kind of like a business of giving back to get back.
Sure.
Because if it's just giving back, yes, that is awesome. Yeah. But even if it's just an idea of giving back to the community, and the community just starts supporting me, not in any financial way, but just in a community, in a favor or any type of way. Like,
sure.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
of course,
it has to be a two-way.
Well, anytime you're giving to an organization, they're going to appreciate at a minimum what you're doing for them. more so than you might even expect, right? So you might know, all I did was help them with this. They wanted me to help write an article about something.
Yeah.
But this could be huge to them, right?
Yeah.
So, and then those people do remember you. They do. I have made contacts, and like I said, it wasn't the reason. Like we wrapped Christmas presents for this group called Voices for Children, like thousands of Christmas presents. It's a really amazing organization that supports foster children in Dade County. So there's like, every year there's like, I forgot how many, 3,500 foster kids that are in the foster care system. It's really sad. And this organization gets donations of presents, tons of presents from like Target, and like and then we would go in and we would like wrap. We'd spend like 4 hours just wrapping like thousands of Barbie dolls or like Monopoly games. But that woman that ran it, this woman Bunchy, like she was so supportive of us like over the years and just connecting me with people, and it was just so. I mean, just nothing I didn't, that was the last thing I thought was going to happen, like that she would know. But she's been around a long time. She's lived in Dade County. Oh, she knows this person. I know this person. I know this person. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a lot about business anyway. Like with architecture, it's about connections and people. People work with people they like. And, that I think the more people you kind of get to know, that's always good. I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
And partly by volunteering, you're getting to meet a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the more you volunteer, then the more you give of yourself, you realize how much there's just such a huge need of that. And especially now with a lot of funding cuts across a lot of organizations, that there's just so much need out there that it's not easy. Like, especially for not-for-profits, or there's still so much, it's not like all of a sudden, homelessness, it doesn't exist anymore. Like, I mean, these things are going to be around, unfortunately, for forever. So I think we, as architects, we should be, any boards. It could be, there should be architects on every single design review board and every single planning and zoning board, and every city has these. And you look at the boards, and there's like no architects. Or maybe there's not even a requirement that there has to be an architect in some cities on a design board. I'm like, so I got on the board here. Yeah, it's just, so, get involved, find out, serve on the city board. They're always looking, serve on the city committee, an oversight committee, an environment, the urban planning committee. There's all these different, just Google it. I remember in Miami Beach, when I first moved there. Yeah. Lots of tear downs. They were tearing down they're still doing, tearing down all the old kind of cool, I don't know, like Spanish style, whatever, Pan Coast homes, and then building like these, I call them like the sugar cubes, like these white boxes. And I remember I was driving around, I said to my husband, I was like, God, it's like, I'm so, like, all the new architecture is horrible. He's like, well, instead of complaining to me about it, that's a horrible imitation. But anyway, he said, instead of complaining to me about it, you should get on the design review board in Miami Beach. And I go, I don't even know what is that? He's like, I don't know. Let's go online and figure it out. So there's a design review board. Oh, how do you get on the design review board? Oh, you have to get one of the commissioners you have to apply, and then a commissioner has to sponsor you. That's to basically say, I want Giorgio to be during a commission meeting. And there has to be an opening. Yeah. And you have to fit the opening because there's different roles. Yeah. So I filled out an application, and this is like getting out of your shell, right? I had set up meetings with every commissioner. I knew only one at the time, just randomly. They sit you down, they ask you, why do you want to be on the design review board? They kind of want to know that you're going to support them and vote for them in the next election. There's a little bit of politicking, which is also good to learn about. And they said, so then I remember I was in my office watching like one of the commission meetings, because I knew they were going to be nominating someone for the board. Mm-hmm. And they had like this whiteboard, and they were writing like these names, and I saw like they wrote like J and then Hagopian, but it totally, it was spelled like GAHP. And I was like, oh, that's my name. And I was doing work and trying to listen. And then someone said, I nominate Jason. They said my name totally wrong. And then I got on the board and I served 2 5-year terms on that board. So 5 years, and I termed out. And then I came back and I was serving on it even after I moved up here. I had the one position that allowed you not to live in Miami Beach and still be on the board.
Okay.
So then when I moved up here, I got on the board of adjustment here in Fort Lauderdale. So that meeting I have once a month when I go to that meeting. So if you probably see things in your own community you don't like, you're like, somebody should fix this. That's you. Get on the board. I mean, they're looking for qualified, because what you will end up getting is people that have free time that aren't really qualified. I mean, it's like this realtor, some old guy. I mean, just go to, I don't know if you've ever been to like a commission meeting or a planning and zoning meeting, but the people that stand up and like during public comments and complain about everything that's happening, they're in that meeting like every day. You don't want those people like designing your city. So like so AIA is very big on like telling architects to get on public boards. You need to get in we need to be in those positions.
Yeah.
We are the ones. We are the whole board should be architects on a review board.
Yeah.
You're approving variances. You have to understand what you have to understand what a property line is. I'm not like the board, I don't want a bad one. Don't put this in. But so I can either get on the board and be agitated, or I can choose to like assist my other board members in teaching them about why. One issue came up about in Fort Lauderdale about sidewalks. So Fort Lauderdale passed an ordinance years ago, maybe it was 5 years ago. Whenever a street that has no sidewalks, but it has a very big easement that the city owns in front of your house. So maybe the first from the street, 20 feet in is really not your property, but you mow the lawn, but it's really the city can put telephone poles. And the city said, in order to encourage sidewalks, we're going to say any new building, any time there's a home that gets torn down, the new home has to put in the sidewalk in front of their house. Then eventually, when all the old crappy homes get torn down and new homes go up, we will have a sidewalk all down the whole street. It might take 20 years, right? But so we would get these cases that would come up in front of us, a homeowner. They bought the house to tear it down, to build a new home. And, putting a sidewalk, a 50-foot long sidewalk on your house, it's probably going to cost you $50,000, $60,000 maybe. So they come and they want to say, we don't want to put the sidewalk because our neighbor doesn't have it and that guy doesn't have it. So why would I have this stupid sidewalk in front of my house? Well, so it seems, on the surface, it seems like, we should really give this guy the variance. Like, why would we make him do that?
Yeah.
So I say to the board, like, I just want everyone, before we all vote on this, because I know I'm going to vote, put the sidewalk, and everybody else is going to vote, don't put the sidewalk, and I'm going to lose, because you have to get a majority vote. I wanted my fellow board members to understand, and the community, because it's all televised, why does this even exist? Like, why? So I was kind of like explaining, like I would explain it maybe to like high school kids or something. Like, look, the idea here is that we're trying to make walkable cities. And right now it's not safe to walk in the street. No, it's fine, we all walk in the street. Well, that's not really, so this ordinance was put in place in not in all the neighborhoods, certain neighborhoods, to gradually over time get a sidewalk down this whole street so that future children and your grandkids will be able to walk. So if we keep allowing these variances, there's never going to be sidewalks here until the city decide, and that's by the time they come up with the budget to spend $5 million to put a sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think, your role also on a board is to take a leadership. So like I said in the beginning, Miami Beach, the design review board, they were all very talented. Lots of people in AIA on that board, great designers. This board, again, it's not a design board, it's a board of adjustment, so it's not as glamorous. but you want people to understand what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't understand the plan. I'm like, oh gosh, okay. But so that's what I mean. Like, so as architects, it's good for us to get on these boards because you can teach people things, how to think about things, how to think of it a little bit differently. Like, oh, just think beyond. Yes, I feel bad for this owner. Like, I understand, but I also know they're building a 10,000 square foot house. If that's going to spend $5 million building that, I think they can put in the $50,000 sidewalk.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a little bit of just kind of the logic of it all. I try to be fair. Like, that's one good thing about serving on these kind of design boards is you're representing the city, right? The residents. So you have to think about the good of the whole of the community. You have to kind of put your own biases aside. Because I might love sidewalks. I might hate sidewalks. But I really have to put that aside and be much more, I have to think very globally, very openly about the benefit to the city as a resident, right? Like, what really is the best solution here? Like a variance, like how someone's trying to get a variance. Like everybody's trying to get a smaller setback, Like, okay, but you got to look at it. Like, let's think about the whole issue. What's the long-term effect? What's the short-term effect? Why do they want to do this?
Yeah.
So architects think that way. I would say, I don't know, like a realtor may not have that thinking ability, may not have that problem solving skill, may not have that 3-6, that kind of all around thinking. Yeah.
You talked about leadership. You talked about, live by example, by volunteering. What is one key takeaway? And this is sort of like the last question. What is one sort of key takeaway you can give to architects who are optimistic about having a good impact in your PAs?
I think to have an impact in your community, you have to be in your community. I mean, I like to think everything that we do in our office, every building that we build, is going to benefit the community. I mean, I would hope that we have that in our head somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say it's a little tough because our clients are all individuals, whether it's a company, not always, but if you're doing private work, you're building a tower for a developer. So you might not be thinking a lot about the community. Certainly the developer isn't always thinking about the community, but we're putting things on this planet that don't go away. I mean, they do eventually, like everything does.
Yep.
But we are creating physical manifestations of things, of ideas. They're not on a piece of paper. They're not on a computer. They're not in the air. They're not under the sea. They're on the ground. They're here. They physically affect space. And they mentally, they affect the way you mentally interpret a space.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just downtown dropping off some checks to Durham in Miami. These two buildings, fairly not so attractive buildings that are near the Bright Line. They were there before the Bright Line. And they were kind of like, I guess it's considered Overtown-ish. And there was nothing around these two government buildings where all the county employees worked, public housing. And then there was parking lots, shelter, like low-income housing. And I hadn't been down there in a while. And I went down there yesterday, and all around it was like condo. Like, it was all new sidewalks, trees, condos, Target, Publix, Ross. I'm like, what the? I mean, a lot can happen in 3 years. Like I said, I hadn't been down there in a while. And it's funny, and the Overtown sign was like still there at the ramp to get out of there. And I just was like, it's amazing what architecture can do. Now, granted, like I'm sure lots of displacement. Where did all these low-income people go? I'm sure they're not living in the condos that they built because it didn't look like it was low-income housing. And even workforce housing still costs like $400,000 a unit or whatever. I don't know what, or the rents are still $2,000 a month. So, but I think you have to realize that everything we build, it affects everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a lot of work in We did some work in Liberty City in Miami. So historically, a horribly, poor part of town. They built all this public housing there back in the day, back in the 50s maybe. And there was a wall that was built there back in the 20s and 30s that was basically an 8-foot tall wall, still there. It's not 8 feet tall. They left only 2 feet of it, that separated the white neighborhood from the black neighborhood. So that wall is a piece of architecture. Somebody designed that wall, or, somehow it all happened. And there was a drawing, I'm sure, of how to build the wall. And they built this wall. So as mundane as a wall might seem, like it has, it's still, so they've left, you should go see it sometime. It's there as a marker, as a remembrance of what it was there. They've left like 2 feet of it, and it still runs. You can see it there. It's on, I forgot what street it's on, but, and then you can also see what's left behind. You can see all the public housing that was built, these horrible, I don't know if it's so horrible, but, there's one story, little rectangular house. It was like hundreds of them, like all arranged. It's very like non-urban friendly, it's very low density. So, we can make a lot of mistakes, I think. I think that's also another big challenge we have as architects is, you can do it and it can be done, and then but it's there.
Yeah.
It's really hard to undo. It's really hard to tear down an entire highway and build a new higher highway like they're doing down in Miami, so that you can have a better connection between downtown and the theater district, right? They're doing that bridge that's costing like billions of dollars and it's way behind schedule. So, you can see where like huge mistakes are made. They can be undone. Like in Boston, they tore down the whole expressway that split downtown for decades, and then they split it, and what happened? It like opened up all these opportunities and more development, connections. So, we can fix some mistakes, but we don't have the luxury. It's tougher in areas like Miami or cities that are growing, like, Miami or any newer cities in South America, Panama. I mean, I don't know, these cities that are just like giant buildings going up. Like you can't really, they didn't evolve. It's like when you go to Europe and you go to Paris or, well, it's a little bit more plain, like Rome or cities that kind of grew, London, that sort of just grew organically. And they will always, even like San Francisco in a way, like they won't become like Miami, it's just, it's all happening. There's no stopping that train. And it's just going faster and faster and faster and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I don't know what the personality of Miami is really going to end up being when it's finally all done. But it'll definitely be different than the personality of like a, Boston or San Francisco, for sure.
Well, thank you, Jason.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom and encouraging us to be more involved in our communities. I'm going to leave the floor for you to sort of plug in how people can get in contact with you.
Well, I'm going to definitely follow up with each of you and make sure. I'm going to ask you for what you're doing to donate your time. So besides this, because I know this is not work, so this is something. So. But you're doing this for you and for the greater community. So I'll give you some community points for that. Definitely. No, because people can watch it and learn. So that's really important. And I think other students and I think other adults will see what you're doing, and you'll be able to you're making an impact. So that's really important.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say if anybody wants to know what we're up to or I'm up to, you can go to our website. It's basically Neuvio, but you just www.neuv.io. So that's kind of cool, right? We have Instagram, Neuvio Architects. You can see us on Instagram, LinkedIn as well, Neuvio. You can email me. That's super easy. It's just my name, Jason, and then it's at Neuvio, but it's NEUV.io, not .com. Although I think if you do Neuvio.com, it still gets to me. Okay. But yeah, and just please get involved. It's really important. And if you have questions about how to do it or why or any of that, I always love talking about it, and I've done other panels, and it's been kind of a personal passion of mine. And I think it can become a personal passion for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. See you on the next episode of R3Y. Thank you again, Jason.
Pleasure. Oh, great job.
Great.